We are live.
Okay, thanks, Mike and LTV. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the May 18th, 2021 East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. We have a full agenda as usual, although I will mention the first on the agenda, we have a canceled public hearing. The Patricia McCarthy application hearing will be heard, Council, I believe, June 22nd. I'm sorry, May 22nd? No, June 22nd. I'm sorry.
June 22nd is tentative because we have to get notices out, but yes, that's what we're looking to reschedule.
June, pardon me. Thank you. So possibly June 22nd. Thank you. Yeah. So I'll just read that in for those who may be here. So that location is at 21 Reuter Place, Oceanside at Montauk, map number 2070, 2730 in Montauk, tax map number 300-31-3-24, and that is canceled this evening. So we will move on to our scheduled public hearings. We have Greg, the applicant. The first is Gregory T. Cass is the applicant. The lot size and location is 8,295 square feet at 1 Marlin Drive, Montauk on the Sea. Section A, map number 2438 in Amagansett, tax map number 300-131-2-1.3. And the description here is to remove an existing 717 square foot deck and replace it with a 1,203 square foot deck within side yard setbacks, and to construct an outdoor shower on a parcel of land containing dune land and beach vegetation. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-40 and 2 variances from 255-11-10 dimensional setbacks. Variances of 4.9 feet and 5 feet are required to allow the proposed deck to be located 10.1 feet and 10 feet from the side and rear yard lot lines where 15 feet is required, and any other relief necessary from the East Hampton Town Code. This is in a B residence zoning district. The flood zone here is AE flood zone elevation 10, and the secret class is type 2. And council, do we have a proper affidavit of service and posting?
We have an affidavit that the mailings went out on the 7th day of May, and that the property was posted on the 7th day of May. So the paperwork appears to be in order.
Okay, thank you. And this is in my Amagansett district, but board member Ed Johan was interested in getting to know some other areas of town. So and some of the ecosystems and all, as if he doesn't know them, but nonetheless, he offered to chip in and do the field report here. So thank you, Ed, if you would, please, Ed Johan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Eleni, if you can share the screen and we'll start. This is a corner property. It's on Marlin Drive, where the entry to the driveway is on Marlin Drive, but it also borders on Montauk Highway. This is the posting that's on Marlin Drive. You see the house beyond it. Next. Here I'm looking southerly on Marlin Drive towards the ocean. You get an area. This is a subdivision. It's got a lot of small lots cut up in sometimes strange shapes. We're familiar with it from past hearings. Next. Now I turn and look north, and you can see there's a corner lot, and there's Montauk Highway right in front of us. Next. This is the posting that's out on Montauk Highway. Next. Here I'm looking east. This is pretty much in the straightaway. Everyone who knows the stretch, you can see the tower off to the left. You get an orientation of about where we are on the stretch. Next. Now I'm looking back to the west. You can see Marlin Drive on your left. And again, it's a nice long stretch of the road here. Next. Now I just stood with my back to the highway and looked from the corner, those large stones, making this is a lot that takes a sweep on this northwest corner. You can see the house beyond and some cars parked in the driveway. Next. This is a deck that is currently being repaired. Deck boards have been removed. New deck boards are going down. You see some men working here. This is the area, as I'm standing in the driveway, that's some of the proposed work is to be done. That staircase would be replaced with some deck in the proposal. The deck that we see just beyond that to your left, going up to a shed, would also extend in a southerly direction. And the shed is not on the proposed survey of 10/16/20 that, so the deck is being eliminated by all accounts. Next.
You mean the shed is being eliminated, right?
That is being eliminated, yes.
Yeah, your shed, yeah.
Now we're looking back across the front of the house where the applicant's car is parked. And this is an area where there'll be some additional decking. There'll be an entry set of stairs coming up, replacing the ones you see in the picture. I'll go to next, please. Oh, I'm sorry. That's well out of sequence. Okay. We'll come back to that. I was going to show you. There you are. So now we're looking at the front of the house. There will be this additional deck extension coming directly towards us with a set of stairs to both the north and the south side. They'll take you up onto the deck into the entry in the proposed deck. Next. And we're looking, I've gone a little closer here. We see what's going on in terms of this deck here would be being extended towards us. There's several things to look at in this photo. Again, there's the shed. The proposed deck we'll see in the survey, I'm sure when we discuss with Lenny. In the survey, you'll see that that deck is going to extend out both in the easterly direction and a southerly direction. In other words, heading slightly away from us where the shed is, but also slightly towards us as it works its way to the right, to the south. There's a question of two things here. Some of the excavation under the deck as exists now may not have been there earlier. We're not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure of that, but I do make note of it. And to the right, directly below us, is a fair amount of sand fill that has been brought onto the site. That's on the submitted Reveg plan is noted as sand fill to be covered with beach grass in the future. As of now, that work is already started. Next. Again, now I'm looking straight at that. You can see how it's sort of been filled in to create a level platform. It had dropped off. The natural slope there, topography had dropped off and away from us. You can see that it's fairly close to the hedge line. The hedge line is pretty much on the property line, approximates the property line. So that is something of future concern to make sure that revegetation takes place correctly. Next. This is looking out behind the house. You see how close it is to the property line. Again, the hedges don't tell you exactly where it is, but you can see from the privet growing in the way it is, that it is base. We're only, as you see back on the survey, I don't have it in front of me, but I think we're 10.1 feet at this point to the shed. We can review that on the survey. Next. I was just back again from here. We can go on, but this is again an area with a general concern. Most of the work that's being proposed for additional deck is either coming towards us or slightly away from us. This will be a reconfiguration in this area. Next. I stood up on the deck just to show the work that's going on. Deck boards that were here that were, I guess, in disrepair were removed. New deck boards are going down. Next. There's an area to the north of the house. We're looking at it now. The highway is beyond. This is an area when we look at the Reveg plan, which will come up, is proposed to be revegetated. There are some recommendations from the planning department about how is that to take place. This is on the north side of the house, immediately adjacent to the highway. Next. We kind of look around behind the house now, and we can see that there's some area that's going to continue. If you're studying this Reveg plan, you'll see how that continues around and it continues in an easterly direction. Next. And this is another area. This is where we currently pull into the driveway. The property line would be on our right to the south. That area that looks as if it's grassed in front is to be revegged. The reveg plan is to be submitted with the proper plant list associated with it. And some of that, there are some recommendations from the planning department about how that should be achieved. Next, that could be it, I think. Next, am I back?
Yep, that's it.
That's it? Okay. Thank you. That's it, John. That's what I have.
Okay, thanks so much for doing that, Ed, and that thorough field report. Board members, any questions for Ed?
No.
Okay, let's see. Do we have, now is the applicant the agent this evening? Do we have the
The
agent?
applicant is self-representing.
Yeah. Do we have Mr. Cass here? Great. Oh, there we go.
Can you guys see
Good
me?
evening, sir. How are you? How are
I'm
you?
good, thanks. How are you guys?
Doing well this beautiful day.
Excellent.
If you are not an attorney, I will have to swear you in. Are you an attorney, sir?
Not in New York State. So yeah, I think they'll have to swear me in.
Okay, if you raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Good evening, and go ahead, please.
All right. Well, thank you all for taking the time. I know you've got a busy calendar, particularly with the amount of people that are trying to do the similar things through COVID. So my wife and I, Corey, have been residents, homeowners really since 2014 here, and we've been residents full time for the last year and change. Our daughters, 8 and now 11, are going to Amagansett School, and we're seeking a natural resources special permit and a variance, as you guys have seen, obviously to repair and slightly expand the deck. So, this process was sort of confusing at first, but now it's, I think, a welcome opportunity to learn a little bit more about the native lands. We're figured out what was not native. There was a dead black pine and a Russian olive at one point that was a bit of a petulance, but most of what you see here was already in existence, and we're trying to do what we can to restore it to as much as for as small a lot as it is. It's kind of the native parkland. So you can what we're trying to get accomplished obviously was number one, appearance, and two was safety. That the deck had to be replaced, and I don't know if any of you guys got to see the dilapidated deck, but we were missing half of we weren't trying to be irresponsible, but it did take a while to get through the planning process of this process. So in the meantime, our deck did actually rot underneath our feet. So we hope this will be a safer place for family and friends, and certainly we hope that the revegetation plan is something that you guys agree will help beautify the neighborhood and restore it to more of its traditional form. So I guess with that, you guys have seen all of the pictures. I think that was very helpful. It was probably helped tell my story a little bit. I don't know how much that's done, but both of our neighbors to the eastern side, Natalie Garg and Eric Cruvent, and the southern side, John and Mary Rocker, who have been anchors of the community for over generations. So you did, I think, hopefully see a letter from Natalie reflecting their support of the variance, and obviously the deck moving towards their property, and John and Mary didn't send them the letter, but John, if you guys know him, made it clear that if he wasn't here objecting, that you'll know he's in support. So that's where we are today. If hope you've seen the technical analysis memorandum, and Eleni was great to help provide support through this process. I think the revegetation plan that was put together by Lindsay Lucenti it's a simplified plan, but we tried to focus on what the TAM was directing us to do, and Eleni's advice to really focus on the beach grass. I've already ripped out more than half of the grass, and the sand that you see there is the sand that was underneath the grass, which is it's kind of like ripping off the carpet and finding your hardwood. And so that was a nice addition. We excavated some sand under the deck. This is where you see the sand that came from. Shoveled it out, which was another recommendation going forward. But taking that sand out, I put some of it over there on the highway side of the house, just to kind of help fill that in, because we did also remove gravel and shrunk the size of the gravel walkway, which was, I think, considered part of the driveway. So that's the framework. Hopefully this makes some sense, and yes, I'm happy to answer questions or explain anything here.
Okay, thank you very much. Ed, you want to take any questions from you?
Ed, you're
I think
muted.
Ed, I think you're muted. Ed, you're muted.
I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. Go ahead, Ed.
I have a couple of questions about the construction that's going on at this time. How did you move forward on that? You reached out to the planning department to get permission to replace deck boards. Can you clarify?
Yeah, and then I reached out to Don, who's obviously the head of the building department, and I wanted clarification because again, I've been hesitant to do anything like that. Not even really. I've been reviewing a lot of other parts of the code, and I said, "You guys are serious? Like, I can't get a building permit, I can't do anything else, but I can actually replace my deck board." It's like, you can't touch the frame, you can't touch the stairs, but if you have rotten deck boards and if you have rotten posts, and like, I can't imagine a worse case than mine for those two specific things. And if you guys aren't privy to the pictures, I'll happily share them. It's pretty shocking that this much rot could happen, you know, but it did. So that was something that we were very cautious and careful about, and replaced just the deck boards or in the process of, as you can see, just the deck boards in the existing deck, and the posts that were rotten out. So literally several areas of the railing were completely gone. They literally fell to the floor. And when you have 8 and 10-year-old kids, or now 8 and 11, you don't really want that happening, where they're going to fall 5 to 10 feet off the deck. And so that was pretty necessary. Another section was kind of held together by Christmas lights. It was really an embarrassment and kind of an eyesore to the neighborhood. So at the point at which we weren't sure how long this would take, we would have preferred to wait, but I don't know, having not been through the process, we wanted to make sure it was a safe environment for our kids, and no one's going to step through or fall off the deck. So we started that process. And to the extent that you guys approve the NRSP and the variance, we will proceed with the expansion plans. But if not, we'll have just our existing deck, and we'll try to make the neighborhood as nice as we can by improving the landscaping as well.
I think there's a question about, whether or not there was structural work done on the deck before a building permit would have been issued. And so that's something that the planning department may want to comment on, at the serious amount of work been done on the 6x6 supports. And if that was something that they would have given you a go ahead to move on, they'll let them ask you that question.
Sure.
The other thing I would just say as an observation is, I was over there. The rails are down. There are posts there. Well, men are working as a construction protocol. There should be something there to keep someone from tumbling 6 feet off of that deck on down. I'm not on behalf of the building department, but I can tell you that in that situation, that's an unsafe situation. So I think you should probably, as a homeowner, consider doing something temporary. A couple of 2x4s coming across. Men are working. You're coming in. A dangerous situation there.
That makes sense. Thank you.
There are going to be a couple of questions. I think when we look at the reveg plan about how extensive the revegetation is and whether or not some of the non-native species will be removed. Here's the proposed plan that we will issue. We see that in the southwest corner, there's a fair amount of revegetation planned, some work to be done as it goes out onto Montauk Highway. And also there's the re-veg area that's near where you come in and where you park. I think all of those have to be very specifically discussed, and whether or not, we as a board would like to see a little more revegetation given the sensitivity of the lot. But I would like to see, we'll let the planner discuss that, Eleni, when we come, because I think they have some very specific recommendations.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Ed. Anyone else on the board have a question before we hear from the planning department? No, I'll take that as a no. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cass. We'll go on now to the planning department. Eleni, good evening to you.
Evening.
Eleni, I'll go ahead and swear you in for that. Thanks. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thanks, Eleni. Go ahead, please.
Eleni Nikolopoulos from the planning department. So I'll first start out by commenting on some of the photos of the work being done. I'll just pull up Ed's photo, specifically this one, where it was dug out. So while we did speak about replacing deck boards, the replacement of deck boards is fine to do without a natural resources special permit. I just want to note that digging out under here or the replacement of these wooden posts in the ground would require a natural resources special permit. So that would be something that I guess could be included in this permit that we're discussing today, but should have been acquired before the work was done. So just clarify on that. The revegetation plan that the applicant has submitted, it is a good plan. It's a good start. I will just note that it appears from the plan that this area here is to remain lawn, if I'm reading it correctly, and the planning department would just like to note that we would like it to be fully revegetated. That it is a common condition put into permits that no lawn, sod, ornamental vegetation be permitted in this area of town, and the planning department would suggest that it be added to this permit as well. So the proposed decking, I'll bring up the survey. So you see the line of the existing decking and then the proposed extension all around here. So it is extensive and would bring the total coverage on the lot to 48.9%, where 50% is allowed. And it is allowable within town code, but we just want to note that there is dune land vegetation. This is a protected area, and the board should note that. And it could have the expansion of the total coverage on this lot could have the potential to have a negative effect on the environmental conditions on the property. So that just makes the revegetation even that more important on this lot. So we would like to see it be, fully revegetated. I will note that the lot is undersized for B residential zoning. However, it's not that big of an ask. But the board should determine whether they feel comfortable granting dimensional variances on an undersized parcel. And I'll just bring up the sketch that we had done, just showing the revegetation that we would like to see. And they did pretty much do that. They did in the revegetation plan, except for this area of lawn, which I believe I'm reading correctly. I can correct me if I'm wrong on this, was to be here. And we just would like to see it fully revegetated with native grasses. If there are any questions.
Thank you, Eleni. Ed, I'll let you go ahead first, since you took the lead on this one.
There is one other note in the TAM that should be considered, that this lot possibly qualifies for the 2/10 rule, so that some of the variance setbacks we're looking for these decks might be modified slightly. Would not bring them into compliance, but it would help reduce that a little bit. I don't think there has been a determination yet. Is that correct, Eleni, that the determination is not whether or not this does qualify for the 2/10 rule?
Yes, so that was something that we had spoke with the chief building inspector about. And it was suggested that because they applied for the full variance, it was unclear, because this lot does have 2 front yards, if they would qualify for the 2/10 rule, which is why the planning department moved ahead with the larger variance, just to cover in case it did not qualify, because it's a little bit of a unique situation. However, it would lessen the variance. So the variance that they're applying for now is 4.9 feet, I believe, and if it were to qualify for the 2/10 rule, it would be 2.7 feet, with a 12.8 setback required, where 15 is required.
Okay, thank you, Eleni. Ed, anything else?
I have one other thing, Mr. Chair. There was a letter of support from a neighbor at 1848 Montauk Highway. I'm not sure what parcel that is.
As we're looking at at the screen right now, it's to the right. It's also on the highway. So it's right there, yeah, where your cursor is.
So it's your immediate neighbor.
Correct.
Your immediate
Yes.
neighbor. All right. Thank you, Mr. Cass.
Sure, thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Board members, any questions? Terry, this is sort of in your Montauk area there.
I guess just for the applicant, to Eleni's last comment about the full revegetation in that area she pointed out, are you agreeable to that?
We were hoping that my 2 girls could kick a soccer ball in that last little strip that was not visible to anyone, except, if you snuck up behind the house. But if it's required, we can tear out that last bit of grass if there's a problem. But, we were hoping to keep that little strip, it's a little more than 10 feet wide and the length of the house. But if that's the deal breaker for us, we'll take it out.
Okay. Well, they all recommend no more on their side, so.
Yeah. No, we were hoping when we got it, that it was well, there's a lot of grass in the neighborhood. We didn't get the impression that, and I think people are doing a better job of trying to restore things, which is good. I mean, at least along our street on Marlin, there's a lot more houses that reflect the character of the Duneland that we're looking at in the state park. But most of the houses throughout the neighborhood, you guys are probably aware of these undersized parcels, and a lot of them have grass, which is what we thought we had when we bought it. But again, if that's the problem, we'll live with it. We're just, or if it's a way we can offset it with more beach grass, we'll plant as much as we need. We were just hoping to have like a little strip for the girls, but that's I'll leave that up to you guys.
Okay, thank you. Ed, I'm sorry, any board members, any other questions for Eleni or for the applicant?
No, I'm good.
No. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm good as well.
I should clarify that, like, when the sand was, one of the reasons that the sand was removed at the time is that when the deck boards were taken off, I noted that there was, as you guys probably also saw, a decent amount of sand that was underneath the deck. So I thought that would be helpful in terms of, setting a kind of a weed-free foundation and to start planting the beach grass. It was difficult to have workers crouch down because the height below the deck was materially less, right, before the sand was excavated. And so by doing it then before the deck boards were replaced, I thought would make it easier for labor to not have to work on their hands and knees. But I think then the second part of it is those 6x6s, I didn't know they were connected in any way to any kind of framing. I was told put in place just to protect the sand from falling down on the side. So I'll take a look at that as soon as we get off the phone. But I was specifically told, contractor not to touch any framing, and that was understood, I thought. So I apologize if there was anything that was untoward.
We get it. So just really quickly, you have a lot of in the future. You have a lot of paving there. As you see from this aerial, there's a lot of paving there. If you ever want to get any more of that planted out, it would be wonderful. Or make a place to kick a soccer ball. But the other thing is just for the record, Dawn Green is the building inspector. She's not the head of the department.
Okay.
She's the building inspector, and Lennon is. But that's. And were the deck joists, were they rotten? Were you putting the decking? Are you putting them into rotten?
I asked multiple times, like, can we put, are the frames rotten? And they don't look spectacular to me, but they're not rotten. The frames are okay.
Right.
They look old, but they're not rotten.
Okay, let's move on now. If board members don't have any other questions. Mike, do we have anyone in the public who wants to comment on this application?
Nope, there are no callers right now. I just wanted to double check one thing, that we have Tim via the phone line as his microphone is not on Zoom. Tim, can you just confirm that? I opened up your phone line.
Yes, Mike, I'm here if you can hear me.
Great. Yep. Yeah. But no, other than him, we have one caller that I have identified for a future hearing, just to be fully transparent, but that's it. Nobody else.
Okay. Oh, and we can see Tim also. Good. Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Cass, and thank you, Eleni, for your work on this. Ed, would you like to close us out, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. In the case of Gregory Cass of 1 Marlin Drive, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-131-02-1.3, I make a motion to close the public hearing, leave the record open for 2 weeks until 2 weeks after the minutes are posted on our website.
Second.
I concur.
If I could just clarify, it's not when the minutes post, it's when the transcript posts, because Kyle's minutes will post sooner than that. So 2 weeks after the transcript posts.
Thank you.
I concur as amended. Thanks, Nancy Lynn. And thank you, Mr. Cass. After there's a determination made on this, I believe council is 62 days. Within 62 days, a decision will be rendered, correct, council? After the determination is rendered?
No, after the record.
After it closes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
After the record closes, then the board will render a decision within the 62 days, which is what's statutorily required. But we usually do it sooner than that, but that's our timeline.
Yeah, it usually is. Thank you, Nancy Lynn, for that clarification. Okay, Mr. Kasky, have a good evening, and we will move on.
Everybody. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Have a great night. Thank you.
You too. Okay, we will move on now. Our next public hearing this evening is 2112 Hunting Lane LLC. Is the applicant and the lot size and location is 41,697 square feet at 42 Hedges Banks Drive, map of landfall section 2, filed 1/31/1972, file number 5669, East Hampton, tax map number 300-35-2-5. Description: to demolish the existing residence and structures and to construct 470 square feet of lower level patio and retaining wall and 220 square feet of pool deck on a parcel of land containing bluffs, beaches, and within the town's jurisdiction of wetlands. The relief sought here is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-20 and 4 variances from 255-4-40 coastal setbacks and any other relief necessary. The following variances are required. Variances of 55 feet, 25 feet, 18 feet, and 10 feet are required to construct a pool fencing, retaining wall, pool deck, and patio 65 feet, 75 feet, 82 feet, and 90 feet, where 100-foot setbacks are required. This is the zoning district here is an A residence zone. The flood zone is X. The secret class is type 2. And council, do we have a proper affidavit of service and posting?
Yes, just to clarify, our notice says it's 2112 Huntington Lane LLC. It's actually the name of the owner is 2112 Huntington Avenue LLC, but the property address is properly noticed, so we can go ahead. The mailing was done on the 5th day of May, and the posting was done on the 5th day of May, so the paperwork appears to be in order.
Okay, thank you, Nancy Lynn. So we have, this is in board member Brenneman's district. Tim, if you would please, with the field report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I visited the property yesterday. As the board knows, Hedges Banks Drive is in the landfall section of East Hampton. The properties to the northeast all border Gardiner's Bay, and that is certainly the case with this property. And I took a number of photographs here to give the proper orientation as respects to the slope of the property, which runs from the southwest to the northeast pretty severely. So first things first, just a quick photo of the front of the property. The house that you see in the background is to be demolished. Next photo, please. So the property was properly noticed on Hedges Banks Drive. Next photo. So now I'm still out on Hedges Banks Drive, and I've just turned immediately across the street to the southwest to look at the home, the neighboring property across the street. And I did that to try to provide the first of a number of orientations to the slope of the terrain here. You can see that the home is located considerable distance above where I am standing when taking the photo at the street level. Next photo. So now I've walked down the property. It's kind of a tough property to get a really good orientation shot of the front of the home. But I am, if you're familiar with the property or looking at the survey, I'm kind of in the middle of the driveway right now, looking to the northeast and out toward the bay, and of course at the house. And now I'm going to rotate around from that position. Next photo. So now I've basically rotated to the west, and this is the next door neighbor, literally very, very close to this property. And next photo. Now I've just turned again 90 degrees, and I'm looking back up toward Hedges Bank Drive. That's my vehicle parked on the street level. So again, you get a sense for how dramatic the slope is here from the road level to where the proposed house would be. And in fact, where I'm standing is probably quite close to the front of the proposed new structure. Next photo. So now I've walked through the gate and looking at the pool. We have several variance requests related to the extension of the pool deck, the pool fencing, and so forth. And I just wanted to provide some perspectives around that. Next photo. Now I've kind of moved and positioned myself, and this would be the orientation of the new proposed pool. So it would be running out to this corner, and in fact the corner in the distance, and it could be even the tree that we're looking at that's closest to us, may be impacted by the extension, the pool deck that is proposed. We can hear from the applicant on that, but the terrain again slopes pretty dramatically down from the pool level down to what would be considered the lawn, the backyard area here. Next photo. So now I've walked a little bit closer to the edge of the current pool, which is concrete, and looking down toward the vegetated area, which would be to the east on the survey, and then out to the northeast to the bay in the back. Next photo. Now I've turned and I'm providing a perspective to the east with regard to the neighboring property, looking across the vegetated area that is part of the applicant's property, and then the house, which is pretty well hidden through the vegetation here. Next photo. Now I'm positioned in the backyard and just tried to take a couple of photos to provide some perspective. This is heading to the northwest, where I'm pointing my camera at this point. You can see that the backyard is in lawn, and I've got a couple other shots now of the bluff. Next photo. In the TAM, there was reference to a recent approval to redo the beach access, and so I took a quick photo of that. I chose not to walk down to the property. I think I would have had to have gone probably knee deep in order to get an orientation where I could get back far enough to see above the bluff, as the bluff is pretty considerable there. Next photo, please. So now I've rotated more toward the east, and I'm looking up. You can see the condition of the bluff face, and then I rotated more west. Next photo. And again, you get a shot here of the bluff face, which I have to say is in beautiful shape and a gorgeous view out here. Next photo. Now I've just turned from that staircase again, just to take a photo of the back of the property. This is as the board knows, this is a full redevelopment, so the existing structure will be removed. The majority of what's being proposed is all within zoning allowances, but for the variances that are in front of us. Next photo. That's it. Looks like that's it. So that's it. Any questions from the board? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thanks for a very thorough field report there, Tim. Let's see. Do we have? I believe is Bruce Anderson, the agent, here?
Yes.
For the applicant. Good evening, Bruce. Nice to see you. Bruce, unless you are an attorney, I'll go ahead and swear you in. Do you swear?
Please do so.
Thank you. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Well, first of all, thanks for the very detailed photographic presentation. I became involved with this parcel a couple of years ago when that bluff was basically washed out. The stairs were replaced. That vegetated bluff that you see was the implementation of a bluff planting plan that we worked on with the planning department. And in the context of rebuilding that stairway, we also created a 10-foot buffer, which was also depicted on the photos just presented. So the property is improved with a 2-story single-family dwelling with an asphalt driveway, existing patio, existing pool, conventional septic system with leaching pools. We propose to demolish these structures and construct a new 2-story dwelling with swimming pool, deck, lower patio, install the appropriate drainage, and install the nitrogen reducing septic system and associated leaching pools. You will see on your survey that the leaching, the septic system and the leaching pools are located between the house and Hedges Bank Drive. The existing residence contains a dwelling with a footprint of 1,127 square feet and is located 77 feet from the top of the bluff. The proposed residence, which would also include a 2-story deck and attached garage, would total 3,021 square feet footprint. The existing residence contains a dwelling, existing residence is 77 feet from the top of the bluff, whereas the proposed residence would be 103 feet from the top of the bluff. The existing asphalt driveway, which is also within 100 feet of the bluff, would be removed, and a new gravel driveway would be installed outside the jurisdiction or outside the 100-foot setback from the top of the bluff. The existing patio, which is located 57 feet from the top of the bluff, would be removed, and a proposed deck located 84 feet from the top of the bluff would be installed. The existing septic tank is located 92 feet from the top of the bluff, whereas the proposed IA system would be located approximately 162 feet from the top of the bluff. Now, if we can move the survey around a bit, you'll see a schematic on the lower left-hand side. There it is. And that schematic tells what part of the existing structures are within the 100-foot setback. And you'll see also on the survey, beneath the proposed structures, stippled, is the existing house, pool, surrounding concrete, patio, etc. And you'll see that the area coverage within the 100-foot setback presently is 1,539 square feet, which consists of 775 square feet of existing house, 154 feet of existing asphalt driveway, and 610 feet of pool. The area coverage within the setback, if this project would be approved, would be reduced from that 1,539 square feet to 690 square feet, and would consist of a lower patio with steps down at 470 square feet and a pool deck of 220 feet. The variance include the 8-foot variance for the proposed steps and lower patio, the 3-foot variance for a pool, which honestly is probably at 100 feet, 16-foot variance for the deck. There's a technical analysis that's in your file jacket prepared by Michael Delalia, who points out additional relief is needed for a pool fence, which is located 65 feet from the top of the bluff, and a retaining wall that's located 70 feet from the top of the bluff. That retaining wall extends off the patio towards the water. We believe, and speaking with the architect who's with me tonight on call, his name is Alex Ham, and he's prepared the design for this redevelopment. And Alex tells me that the retaining wall could be eliminated, but he also believes that the pool fence is probably appropriately sited, so we'd like to keep that.
Chair, he is on the line if you wanted to.
Sure, we can, Bruce, after you finish, we can let him speak for 3 minutes, or a few minutes if he, when you're finished.
Okay, if we can go to the aerial photograph, hang on for a sec. Oh, can we have an aerial that we wanted to put in. Can we screen share with you, or is that not?
Sure.
Okay.
Mike, LTV, he can screen share, but it should be no problem.
Yep, go for it.
Okay. So we prepared an aerial, what we call, we think reasonably characterizes the neighborhood. And you see there the site. And what we tried to do was to locate reasonably where the top of the bluff is, and then strike back the 100-foot setback. And it's our estimation that probably all of the neighborhood, except for maybe one house, is within the 100-foot setback. You'll see several properties to the northwest, a swimming pool that's quite close to the top of the bluff. And we provide that to you as sort of an analysis of the neighborhood. All these lots, if you were to look at a tax map book, these lots are all approximately 1 acre in size. They do vary, but not a heck of a lot. And you'll see, similar to ours, they have a lot depth, if you will. That is the distance from the road to the high water line is around 160 feet. However, when you take the 100-foot setback from the bluff, and then you take 20 feet from the road, you realize you reach about 60 feet, maybe slightly less, to develop within as of right. So what we've tried to do is to redevelop this site in a way that's much more respectful of the rules. We've located the house, as I say, completely out of the jurisdiction. We have a couple of minor structures that are within the jurisdiction, and we proposed, which we think is substantial upgrades to that. I want to just take a moment to go through some of the standards that we think apply to this project. And the first one is that we do not believe that there will be any appreciable impact to the character of the neighborhood. The property is typical for the neighborhood. The dwelling with the accessory structures that we propose are of reasonable size and also are typical for the neighborhood. We submit that benefits sought cannot be achieved by some method other than to pursue an area variance because of the constraint in applying the bluff setback with the front lot line setbacks and trying to do something that's creative and something that really works for this particular lot. Its grades and some of its sort of interesting features. It's worthwhile noting that the structures, although non-conforming, and a lot of these other houses, these non-conforming structures could be expanded without need for variances because there's sections in your code that provide for that. So we're really here because we're demolishing a house, and that creates the discussion we're having today. We don't think the variances are substantial.
Hey, Bruce, I have to jump in here. Hey, Bruce, we typically give you 10 minutes. I think so if you can kind of keep moving along, we know the standards, so if you can keep kind of moving along, I'd appreciate it. Especially if we're going to hear, then we'll let your architect speak for the 3 minutes, okay?
Gotcha.
Thanks.
So we submit for reasons given that we would not have adverse effect on the environment for the best management practices that are incorporated in here, which includes the control of runoff, the hay bales suggested in the technical memorandum. We're agreeable to creating a scenic easement of 30 feet from landward of the bluff. We've had very good success in creating buffers to this bluff as part of our previous application. You'll see the plan there. It is our expectation that we'll increase that sort of plan an additional 20 feet to bring it into compliance with the recommendations of the planning department. Of course, we'll furnish that house will be with gutters and dry wells. The pool will be of the chlorine reducing system. It'll be a saltwater pool with all the protections that are available to us today. And the driveway, of course, will be of gravel. We think we protect the character of the neighborhood. We think we protect the environment. We've gone through the standards, the NRSP standards suggested in the technical memorandum, specifically 255-111, 255-410, 255-540, 255-541. And we think we achieved those standards, and we would just submit that the benefit to the applicant if the variance were granted would greatly outweigh any detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the community. We don't believe there is any detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the community. And we think we'd be redeveloping the property in a manner consistent with the existing development patterns of the neighborhood. And that's why we believe and hope that the variances we request will be granted. So we'll turn it over to Alex if you'd like to make a couple of comments relating to the design. And then I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. Good evening, Mr. Ham, are you there?
Excuse me, Chair, I'm going to unmute him now. 1 second.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Good evening, everyone. It's Alex Ham.
Good evening, Alex. Let me, unless you're an attorney, I'm going to swear you in, okay? Do you
I am
swear?
not an attorney, please do.
Oh, okay, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, so we typically give after, we give you like a 3-minute window or so, something in that range, okay? So if you could go ahead, please. Good evening.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to just expound a little bit on what Bruce Anderson's already presented. I wanted to point out that we attempted to push the house as close to the rear, calling it the rear yard, to the street as possible. As Mr. Brennan said, per his visit, there's quite a drop-off from Hedges Banks Drive as you first enter the property. And we've set the house as close as we can away from the water, while still being able to make entrance down that steep hill. Sorry.
Let me interrupt. Hold on a second, please. Mike, just so we're not just looking at Zoom windows, can you, Mike, put up the survey so we kind of have something to look at here? Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Go ahead, Mr. Ham, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So basically, we've pushed the house as far from the bluff as we can get it, while still being able to maintain access down the steep entrance drive, and providing room on that side of the house, of course, to put the low nitrogen sanitary system. I wanted to speak for a second about the pool fence location and why we chose that. It is closer to the bluff than the 100 feet, but we felt that it settled into the natural grade a little bit better by following sort of the foot of the existing knoll that's in that area. So our plan would be to plant both sides of a woven wire fence, and that way, rather than moving the fence up the hill, it would be much more obvious from out at the water line. We felt that moving it down the hill a little bit would sort of settle it into the nature that was around us. And again, we in terms of what's encroaching on the 100 feet, we're only proposing right now the fence, the retaining wall, which I am willing to give up and keep the grade more naturally dropping in that area. And now the square footage that Bruce had read off that's extending within this 100-foot line, I just wanted to point out, is all at level, is a flat thing, whereas before we had quite a bit more square footage, but also 2.5 stories of house. And with that, I said what I think I need to add.
Okay, thank you for being here. We appreciate that.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Before we move on, can you
Thank
just,
you for having me.
Council, go ahead, Nancy Lynn.
can you make a request to Mr. Anderson to submit copies of all of the items that he shared so that they can be part of the record?
Sure. If you would, Bruce, Bruce, if you could do that, please.
I would be happy to.
Excellent. Okay, let's hear from the, unless board members have any questions.
I do for Mr. Ham. Mr. Ham, I'm looking at drawings SD4, SD5, which is your section and elevations.
Yes.
Can you just speak to there's 3 levels here? And is any point in those sections where the lower level?
Michael, can you pull that up? Is that on your available, Michael, that section on your screen? Michael Delalio.
Yeah, I just gotta give it a minute to load.
Yeah, we'll give Michael time to do that, but go ahead, Mr. Ham, go ahead.
So my question, Mr. Ham, is any point on that lower level is more than 4 foot above natural grade where it might be construed as a 3rd story?
No, there's not. Actually, we had presented our elevations earlier to Ann Glennon in response to an earlier concern that we might be higher than 4 feet. And in fact, when we had done that, we had pushed the house further into the ground. The 4 foot level is a little challenging here because of the steep pitch of the land coming in from the street. So we're actually coming into the house from the rear side from a little bit above ground level. We actually step down to get to that first floor. And what I think the drawing that reads best about the drop in the land is the cross section on SD4, where you see boundary line on the left side of the drawing, which is still a little ways from the street. The street does rise a little bit more from that line. But it's approximately a drop of, I would think, about somewhere in the neighborhood of about 8 feet from the road to our first floor level.
Yeah, on that drawing, the bottom cross section, you have on the right side of that drawing, you have the topography coming up again. I'm assuming that would be your natural grade line, not a fill line.
Yes, correct. That's correct. Okay. That's the natural grade line, that dashed line. Exactly.
The dimmer dashed line we see is that, yeah, Michael's highlighting it. Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Board members, any other questions before we go to Michael?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I want to ask a question. I'm picking up on what Board Member Brenneman pointed out in his photos and his description. Looking at the survey, it appears that the natural topography here from Hedges Banks Drive to the crest of the top of the bluff is about a 14 or 15 foot drop. As was pointed out by Member Brenneman, it's significant. And I see that the design has tried to take that into account. On this drawing, there are a number of dry wells, and I think they're all to service gutters and leaders and perhaps the pool. Is there any thought here about adding dry wells that might pick up surface water? I think the combination of holding back whatever we can, working towards the bluff, that 30-foot scenic easement along the bluff and the revegetation zone would certainly help. But I do think that this is a very steep spot, and I can imagine that we could in certain times have a significant amount of runoff. So I'm wondering if that's a consideration here about adding a little extra protection with some dry wells that would have surface grates that would pick up some of this potential runoff.
I would just say that we would certainly be willing to do that. We would probably design a grate at the landward limit of the scenic easement, which also would have the benefit of distinguishing that easement so that it's not inadvertently cleared. And I'm sure we could accommodate your concern.
So I'd like to ask the applicant and Bruce, if you're finished, Ed. Are you finished, Ed?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep. A couple of concerns I have, and questions. This is, this, and we haven't heard from Michael, and we will. But to me, to all of us, it's obvious this is a major redevelopment of this site. And when you see the footprint of the existing house and even the footprint of the pool, granted they are closer to the bluff, this is a major redevelopment of the back half of the property going into, the variance territory. So that's a big concern for me, that this house could not have been designed to not require variances. And also the 20 feet, a mitigation of 20 feet of scenic easement, additional 20. I just wonder why that can't be 40 or 50. It seems like it would be quite beautiful to look over natural vegetation, and there's still plenty of room on your proposed property to have some lawn, etc. So I just find that 20 feet is not very substantial at all. And my last 2 points that you can maybe consider are, to Tim's point, that looks like a beautiful tree. And it looks like, from my estimation of where it was, it might be, as Tim said, the corner of your pool deck or where Michael is. I don't know if that tree is going to be having to be removed. That's one concern of those trees, because that certainly would be a shame because of what those root structures do to holding that slope, no matter where they are. And my final comment is to your point, Mr. Ham, about tucking the pool fence in down low. It certainly helps aesthetically from the owner's vantage point. We understand that. I like that you plan on planting on both sides with native species. I wonder why you couldn't pick something like a topo line of the 25 feet, say, and tuck it right in there, or at the bottom, the very bottom, at the 23. And since you are taking where the retaining wall, wherever that 23 wraps around, it'll probably wrap around to where it says patio on the survey. It seems to me that would be a more organic, natural place to put it. And it also would give you more of a setback on that on that side of the property. So those are my comments for your consideration. And why don't we go, unless anyone has questions, let's go to the planning department. Michael, if you would, please. I'll go. Good evening, Michael. I'll go ahead and swear you in when you're ready. Okay, thanks, Michael. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thanks
for your work on this, Michael. Go ahead, please.
So as we know, this is a significant redevelopment along Hedges Banks. Hedges Banks is one of our more dynamic coastlines within the town of East Hampton. The parcel has recently had an administrative where they did a bluff restoration, constructed the stairs that we're seeing on the property, as well as establishing a 10-foot wide buffer. It's been roughly 2 years since that was installed. It seems in pretty decent shape. Prior to that, there were some some significant erosion of the bluff. A large bite of it, especially on this this northern side, was taken out from Superstorm Sandy, as was most of the coastline along the Hedges banks. So when redeveloping these properties along the coast, the setbacks are really our largest preventative measure against damage to residences and damage to structures. So strict adherence to those is is really kind of the name of the game. The redevelopment of this parcel, the vast majority of it is outside of the 100-foot setback, so it's out of jurisdiction for the board, including the house, a significant portion of the patio, the garage, the driveway, the sanitary system, the pool itself, and it really just is the pool deck, this extension of the patio from the residence, the pool fence, and the retaining wall. The planning department is, recommended a 30-foot easement. Obviously, in terms of stabilizing the bluff, uptake of sediment, the bigger buffer we can get, the better. By comparison, the parcel to the neighboring parcel over here, it's got a long history of being of non-compliant, so to say. But this does have a scenic easement on it of 50 feet. And that was granted to the town as part of a 1989, I believe, determination from the board that allowed them to construct stairs on the parcel down to the water. So there are similar easements in the area. There have been similar redevelopments in the area where they have, in fact, moved completely out of jurisdiction. So these are things to consider. For the board, that such a large level of redevelopment, the question could also be asked if there is room, or if the board found it pertinent, that it could be moved out of jurisdiction. Granted, it is better than what's existing, but making things slightly better when there's a chance to completely conform is always a question for the board. And with that, I leave myself open to any questions from the board members.
Thank you, Michael. I would have to say, besides the IA system, there's nothing much better about this major redevelopment. So I hope that the applicants will consider maybe augmenting some of their mitigation measures here, because there's a lot going on here. That's my comment. Board members?
Yeah. I have the comment about the pool, the pool deck and the fencing. It seems like with all of this going on that it doesn't look like it would be that detrimental or big a problem to move those, eliminated, or the pool deck that extends out and come into complete conformance. Michael and his dam has addressed some of that and how it could be done. And I'm not sure when Mr. Ham was speaking if he mentioned revegetation. I know he listed a lot of the project conditions, but I wasn't sure I heard revegetation. But I too think that the buffer could be bigger than the 30 feet. Perhaps to match the neighboring house next door would be nice. And just to tighten that up, I think it certainly looks doable.
Thanks, Terry. Tim?
Yeah, I have many of the same observations. I think, by the way, I would compliment overall. I think that there are many elements here that are very thoughtful. But the variance requests, the NRSP, which really calls out protecting the bluff face, to me, are not insignificant. And so, Mr. Chairman, I particularly favored your question and recommendation of some additional increase to that scenic easement. To me, that would be the thing here that would take this over the top. So that's my comment.
Thank you, Tim. Roy or Ed or any board member?
I'm in agreement with that direction myself.
Mr. Chair, I just want a clarification. I raised the issue of perhaps putting in dry wells for stormwater.
Sure.
And it was mentioned by the applicant's representative that they might be placed off towards the bluff. I think that any placement or proposed placement should be run by the planning department before they start thinking about where they would go. I don't think putting storm drains out near the bluff is what I was talking about, but I think
Sure.
you find some locations that might help in slightly hardened areas and areas near the house where we could cut down on that flow. But I wasn't suggesting that we get out to the bluff and start adding dry wells in a sensitive area like that.
Sure. Thanks, Ed. Yeah, I'm thinking, the applicant and Bruce probably know that, we keep these written record is kept open for 2 weeks until after the transcript of this meeting is posted on the town website. So there's quite a bit of time before the written record is closed. We'll close the public portion this evening, but I would hope that the applicants would consider coming back to us. It would not have to be even a revised survey if they were going to offer. It could be a revised site plan, but I would hope they might want to come back and consider some augmented mitigation here. And that way they could pick up on what they intend to do with those dry wells after checking with Michael, of course, and getting his recommendations, and the fence and whatever else they intend to do to make this a better application, or they may or may not intend, and then we make our decision on what's before us. So thank you, Ed. Let's see. Do we have Mike at LTV? Do we have any public who wishes to comment?
No, we do not. There are no callers at this time.
Okay. Okay, Bruce, a final really quick comment, if you have a word or two, or?
Well, we've listened to you very carefully. I've taken notes. Alex and I worked together on a number of projects, and we're taking it all into consideration. We're keeping an open mind. We do have to speak with the homeowner, which we will certainly be doing. And we've had a pretty good line of communication with Mike Delalio. So you've given us a lot to think about, and we certainly take your comments very seriously, and we'll get back to you.
Thank you, Bruce. And if you do come back with anything, even if it's only an approximation, I'd love personally to see where those nice trees are, because it would certainly be nice to know that those were not going to be cut down. So if you do come back with anything, could you please add those into the menu, if you would? Even if it's just you taking field dimensions or something like that. I know surveyors are busy and we're not expecting that right now. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Board members, anything else? Otherwise, if not, Tim, you're welcome to close us out, if you would.
Well, yeah, Mr. Chairman, just on item D, the revegetation plan, like I said, maybe I just missed it.
Yeah.
I don't recall if Mr. Ham did say when he read those off that they are open to a re-veg plan also.
Oh, good question. Bruce?
If I may, we had done one for the stairway, and as you could see in the photos that were led off this discussion, they were quite successful. So my sense is we would probably stick with what works, and we would do a continuation of that basic plan.
Okay. Again, please include, if you come back to us, please be as specific as possible. That would be appreciated. I'm sure you will be. Okay. Tim, if you're good, Tim, you want to close this out?
Sure. In the matter of 2112 Hunting Avenue LLC at 42 Hedges Banks Drive, East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-35-2-5. I move to close the public hearing and to hold the written record open for 2 weeks until the transcripts have posted. So 2 weeks after the transcripts have posted.
Any second that?
Concur.
I concur.
I concur as well. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Michael Delalio, and Bruce and Mr. Ham. Thank you for being with us. And have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on next. We have the next public hearing The applicants are Peter and Joy Hamburger at, let's see, lot size and location is 62,583 square feet total at 12 Sandpiper Lane, map of Sea Bluff, filed April 18th, 1957. Map number 2701, Amagansett tax map number 300-175-4-6.1. Excuse me. Description is to demolish the existing residence, pool patio, slate patio, and to construct a 2-story, 3,829 square foot residence, a 217 square foot roof overhang, 288 square feet of porches, 612 square foot pool with 56 square foot spa, 1,460 square feet of decking, 504 square feet of patio, pool fencing, and other various residential appurtenances on a parcel of land containing wetlands, dunes, and beach vegetation. So the relief sought here is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-20 and variances from section 255-4-30 minimum wetland setbacks of the town code and any other relief necessary. The following 9 variances are required. A variance of 78.3 feet is required to install the sanitary system 71.7 feet from wetlands where a 100-foot and 50-foot setback is required. Variances of 77 feet, 75.6 feet, 75 feet, 74.6 feet, 64.2 feet, 61.8 feet, 38.9 feet, and 24.7 feet are required to construct a covered porch, patio, pool fencing, trash bin, deck, southern residence, pool decking, and pool 23 feet, 24.4 feet, 25 feet, 25.4 feet, 35.8 feet, 38.2 feet, 71.1 feet, and 75.3 feet respectively from freshwater wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required. This is in the zoning districts here is an A residence zone. The flood zone is AE, flood zone elevation 10, and the secret class is type 2. Council, do we have a proper affidavit of service and posting?
An affidavit that the mailings were done on the 6th day of May and that the posting was done on the 6th day of May. So the paperwork appears to be in order.
Okay, thank you, Nancy Lynn. Okay, this is in my Amagansett district, so I did a field report, and Michael Delalio is kindly going to help me out. If you would, Michael, with the first one. Okay, here we go. And whenever if you can enlarge them a bit as we get into it, if it's not a problem, Michael, that'd be great. Thank you. Okay, so here we are. I think this is I think this might be the second photo, but we'll see. I might have sent them out of order, but because it was properly posted, actually it was very well posted with a green metal stake and all. So that may show up later, that photo out on the street. But here I've just walked in from the street. On your survey, you'll see this would be at the south, very south and very east. You see that parking area where I parked out by the street. And then the driveway comes in, and I'm standing just in that driveway looking at the existing garage on your left and the existing house. And you see where the chimney is. That's later on, there's a shot. That's kind of the link. You see that little roof. And that's the connection between the existing house and the existing garage. Next shot, Michael, please. Photo. Okay, so this is the one out on the street. And you'll see, and I'll keep mentioning, the vegetation in this area is absolutely spectacular. I was tempted to go up the street and take one just looking down, overlooking it. I wish I had a drone because you can just see how dense and thick it is right here, straight in this photo. And behind me, across the street, it's beautiful, beautiful secondary dune land. And to the right of this photo, you'll see in the backyard of the existing pool, it's just spectacular dune land. And I have to say, there's not a lot of the area that's cleared is cleared, but there's been not any infringement into the area here. It's all very lush and thick and beautiful around the existing house. So next, and the reason I mentioned that is obviously just to underscore how delicate and fragile and special this vegetation is. So therefore, I took this other shot. I've come in the driveway, and I'm kind of looking on your survey. I'd be looking up towards the top of the page The house is on my left, on the left, and I'm just kind of showing you that back yard, looking up the hill, and you can see the dune land right there. Next, please, Michael. Here, again, since I was already kind of at that end of the house, that back it would be on the northern end. I've taken a left, and I'm looking towards the pool area. I'm looking at, you see there's a pool gate I'm going to go through. So that's kind of the north west gable of the house, of the existing house on my left. And next shot, and the nice vegetation is straight ahead and to the right. Thanks, Michael. Next, please. And now here I've gone into the pool area and I've turned, and again, I'm looking up towards the top of the survey, the northern part. You can see that neighboring house on the left side. But again, you can see the sand and the dunes through the vegetation there. The pool is in total disrepair. And that's good for that shot. Next, please, Michael. Here, I just walked over to the end just to show you how nice that land is up the hill on the northern side of the existing house here. Next, Michael. Here I spun around. I'm looking from across that that pool, what's left of it, and at the existing residence. Again, you see how thick the vegetation is all around here, which is great. Next, please. Here I poked, if you saw that fence in the last picture, I just kind of stuck around behind. This would be kind of the southern side of that fence. And I'm looking at the back just to show you some of the downhill vegetation at the southwest corner of the property, in the southern, kind of pointing towards the southern corner of the property. Next shot, please. Here I've come down to, on your survey, it says proposed, it would be, it's the courtyard. It's a courtyard area on the southwest corner of the existing house. Just to give you a sense of that. Next, please, Michael. Then here I'm walking out here. I'm walking through that transition. I turned around and took a picture, but looking back, and you see again the chimney on the right and the garage on the left. And that may be it, Michael. Then I came out. I just took one shot up the street to show you how nicely all that vegetation is doing. And again, behind that, there's dune land behind that vegetation that you see behind that telephone pole. I think that's it, Michael.
That's it.
Thanks, Michael. Any questions, board members? Okay, let's go on then to the applicants and the agent. Is Chris Kelly here with us tonight?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can, Chris. I guess we don't see you, but you're not zooming, but you are calling. Are you calling in, I guess, Chris, huh? Yeah.
No, I'm zoomed in.
Oh, why don't I see you? Let's see.
Chris is zoomed in, and we also have Katie on the.
Oh, now I see it. I had to scroll down. Oh, and Katie's with us too. Good.
She's on the phone when you're ready for her.
Okay, great. Good evening, Chris. Nice to see you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Christopher Kelly, Toomey Latham, Shea Kelly, and Doomer and Corderaro for the applicants, Peter and Mary Jo Hamburger. This property is at 12 Sandpiper Lane in Amagansett. The applicant seeks variances and a natural resources special permit to renovate and enlarge the existing house and to reconfigure and redevelop the lot with some of the existing accessory structures. The lot size is 62,583 square feet, as you can see on this survey, which is large as you can, as you know, for Beach Hampton area. There's a house, patio, decking, one-story garage, and pool on the property. And the applicant proposed increasing the house size from 2,509 square feet to 3,829 square feet, but only increasing the first floor footprint of the house by about 500 square feet. There's a small wetlands on the south side of the property that you can see that's been marked. And the uniqueness of this application is that, and referencing the chairman's discussion of the lush vegetation on this lot, I saw that today and it's very impressive. One of the things in designing the redevelopment that we've been impressed with, both as a value that we wanted to encompass, but also in talking with staff, is to try to limit new spaces that need to be cleared. So what we tried to do is to have structures, although we want to increase the setbacks from wetlands where possible, it actually seemed more important to not disturb undisturbed areas rather than gain some marginal increase in wetland setbacks. That being said, we were able to increase wetland setbacks for all structures except the low nitrogen septic system that's being proposed, and we didn't increase the wetland setback specifically because we didn't want to cause a greater disturbance of this lushly vegetated area. So we had the trade-off there, the back and forth of whether you want to increase wetland setbacks or you want to prevent disturbance. So all structures, except for the septic system, as I mentioned, are proposed to increase their wetland setbacks. As a result, I believe that you don't need variances for increasing the size or moving certainly accessory structures if you're increasing the wetland setbacks, meaning you're decreasing the degree of nonconformity. So that would apply to all the structures. The house, arguably, there's some extra square footage that is within the 100-foot setback. So you might need a variance for the house, but the other structures you wouldn't. The existing garage is proposed to remain as is. So in the first instance, we asked for a determination limiting the number of variances because we don't believe that all the variances noticed are really necessary here. But assuming that we do need to get some variances and that the board may disagree with what the number of those variances are, we've set forth in the memorandum of law exactly why we meet the standards of the town code and town law with respect, the 7 standards with respect to the grant of area variances. So you have our memorandum of law that covers those points. We believe there's an environmental benefit both from increasing wetland setbacks and the low nitrogen septic system here. There's an environmental benefit to making sure that we don't disturb more area, but also we are proposing at the suggestion of staff a very extensive scenic easement that covers almost everything that's not, doesn't have structures on it. We believe in light of all these features, there's the variances are not substantial. We have a DEC permit already, which we've given to the board, and we have letters of support for 4 sets of neighbors. And there's a technical analysis memo response and planning analysis by East End Planning that addresses a lot of the environmental and technical issues, but also does a neighborhood analysis. And I think you'll see from that that the house proposed here is not inconsistent with other houses in the neighborhood. There are numerous houses over 3,000 square feet. These are larger lots compared to the rest of Beach Hampton. And we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about the application.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
And I want to congratulate member Brenneman on becoming a grandfather.
Oh, yes, exactly right. Exactly right. That's wonderful stuff. I'm okay for right now, Chris. Yeah, I'm okay for now, Chris. Do any other board members have any questions?
Are we going to hear from Katie Osecki first or not?
We could go ahead. Why don't we give Katie a couple of minutes and then that might add to our questions. Chris and Katie, if you'd like to do it that way, that's fine with me. Katie, do you want to speak?
Chair,
I can swear you in, Katie.
Chair, this is Mike. I'm going to unmute that right now.
Oh, yeah, you could have unmuted her. Yeah, we don't mind letting Katie listen to us.
Oh, she can listen. She's been listening.
No, I know that. I'm kidding. Yeah, I know. I'm kidding. Thanks, Mike.
Katie, are you there?
Hi, Mr. Chairman. I am.
Chairman, you want to swear her in, please?
Yeah, I sure will. Yeah, good evening, Katie. Katie, if you could raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, please.
So I think, Chris touched upon, mostly what I would have said. The only things that he didn't address were the existing house does not have, it does have gutters, but the leaders don't actually go to dry well. So we will obviously be, there'll be dry wells added, and that will be part of the application. And the existing house is on a foundation, and we are proposing to be on pilings in the proposed house.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I don't want to repeat anything that Chris already said.
Okay. I think I'm okay for now. After I wouldn't mind hearing from planning, if no one else has any questions at this point, we can, excuse me, Michael?
Evening, board members. Mike Gallalio again for the planning department.
Thanks, Michael. Go ahead, please.
So the application is for a near redevelopment of a lot, an improved lot in one of the more sensitive areas of town. It's covered by ecologically diverse wetlands to the south and the west, a significant dune to the north, and pretty pristine vegetation, beach vegetation, outside the existing limits of clearing. The parcel is located within the Sea Bluff subdivision, sandwiched in between the Beach Hampton sections 3 and 4, which are characterized by smaller lots that are that can be heavily influenced by development in the area. In fact, there's about 6 lots on this side of the parcel that could be influenced by this project should the wetlands on the parcel and the adjacent parcel, fail to attenuate the floodwaters from the increased runoff from the impervious surfaces. If approved, the roughly 4,000 square foot residence swimming pool sanitary system would be 38 feet, roughly 75 feet, roughly 72 feet from wetlands. These are the more influential structures in terms of impacting the wetlands in the area. Could cause them to grow, expand, change as their capacity to deal with floodwaters may decrease through sedimentation and a number of other causes. The most non-conforming structure on the parcel that is really the only thing being left at the end of the day is the existing garage. It's under 10 feet from the wetlands and isn't proposed to change. It's the planning department's position that an appropriate redevelopment of a lot like this would include a more consolidated overall footprint, decreased coverages, setbacks would be improved. We have a memorandum of law from the applicant stating that they are improving the setbacks. Some of the setbacks are improving, or all of them are improving, save the sanitary system. And a majority of them by single digits. The residence is improving by 3.6 feet, patio by 4 feet, deck by 1.2 feet. The sanitary system, though it's the IA, is actually going to be closer than the existing. The only ones that have had substantial improvements in their setbacks are the proposed pool and the proposed pool fence. They also mentioned that they don't believe the garbage bin needs setback variances. And it's true in their memorandum of law, it theoretically wouldn't require a building permit being less than 6 by 6. The doghouse rule, unfortunately, anything that requires a special permit also requires a building permit. So it would in fact require a building permit, and there's nothing in the code that, though it doesn't require a building permit, says it's exempt from setbacks. That garbage bin is to be 25 feet from the wetlands. The lot coverage is increasing by 758 square feet, overall clearing increasing by almost 2,000 square feet after they revegetate. And total coverage is decreasing by approximately 1,000 square feet. And the majority of that comes from the removal of this driveway where the sanitary system is going to be. As noted, redevelopments are a chance to improve the environmental conditions. If approved in its current state, this application could set a precedent for nearly every pre-existing non-conforming lot within East Hampton. That really, single digits improvements are all you need. And I don't necessarily know if that's something that the board, should really be looking for. There are chances a smaller overall footprint of the residence. A traditional 2-story house with the same gross floor area could have a smaller footprint. The amount of impervious surfaces that are, under 50 feet away from the wetlands, could probably be improved. In particular, the proposed patio on the south side of the residence. And a number of these things could be taken into consideration to really improve the project. That's the general stance of the planning department. It is a hard lot to develop because of the environmental constraints. I just don't quite think they've hit the mark the way the project is currently proposed.
Thanks, Michael. I'll make a comment. Not really a question, just a comment, and I want to hear from you. Thank you for that. First of all, when I'm looking at on the sanitary, the survey, the engineer sanitary, it notes proposed 2-story, 5 bedrooms, elevation 12 feet, 3488 square feet, but I expect the 3829 square feet is the actual proposed residence. Is that correct, Michael?
That's what I believe I have.
And I think Chris, is that correct?
Assessment.
Yeah, and the existing house, did Chris say it was about 2,500 square?
He said it was 2,509, and he said it's going to 3,829.
Yeah, which is what the notice
so
said.
roughly 4,000 square feet.
Yeah. So I guess my comment.
Square feet.
Sorry, Chris?
Roughly 3,800 square feet.
Yeah. So anyway, it's all pretty clear what they're doing, but just my comment for the applicant's consideration. I agree with what Michael's comments about. To me, it's great that they're moving the pool, and that's certainly going to improve the site. The IA system obviously is required, even if you were to add a little single guest bedroom, that would be required. So that's not mitigation. The scenic easement is appreciated, but obviously that's land that could never be touched anyway. So it's good to have on the record for future possible development, obviously. But I guess I just kind of wonder, I would love to see this thing kind of thought out for given a second consideration, because I just wonder why things like the pool could not meet the set of the 100-foot setback. And there's so many things. The house it's a large house. I looked at the plans. It's a large volume. Even the single-story portion is a large volume. And I just wonder why. It looks like, I don't know if, I guess it was a designed house, but I didn't know if it was a kind of a package house or not. Because I just wonder, again, as Michael comments, why, again, that the house could not be made a smaller footprint, 2 stories, moved to conform to at least the 100-foot setback from the wetlands. It's just,
we could do all that, John. We can move it to the 100 feet. The whole point of here was to not disturb the area that hasn't been disturbed. We could move a lot of stuff back 100 feet if that's what you'd prefer to do.
No, thank you for that, Chris. I appreciate that. I see where, so here's what I'll sum up. Here's what I'm getting at. I appreciate where you're putting the IA system there, okay? And I know there are constrictions there with regard to the distance and separation between that system and the house. So I'm good with all of that north and the east. I'm good with the garage. That's great. You're just keeping that. That's great. I'm good with the whole northern, where Michael's cursor is, that portion of the house. My whole concern is everything to the left of that, everything to the south and the west. Why things like that portion of the house could be made smaller, why the pool couldn't be moved further. You could certainly move the pool without doing any more clearing than you're proposing. The hot tub could be relocated even further. I just don't understand why it just seems like there are so many great opportunities here that were overlooked. And that's just my comment for your consideration. That's all I'll say. This is your application, but that's my comment for your consideration. And board members, I'll move on to anyone else who has comments.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I have several comments. I did want to ask Planner Delalio, though, if you would comment on, you mentioned in the TAM your concern about building into the base of the dune to the north and the northwest as it develops here. That's really over in the hot tub area, I think, and that area you're using your cursor on now. Well, I did walk the property extensively, and if there's ever a piece of land that you look at that announces you should proceed with caution, this is it.
Yes.
It's very sensitive. It's as you mentioned, Mr. Chair, it's wonderfully vegetated. and everything about it screams sensitivity. But before I say anything else, Michael, did you want to say anything about that idea that we're building just about into the base of the existing dune there to the north?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a hard lot to develop. I don't think the board would be seeing this level of development if this was an initial, but in terms of, changing the grade, clearing the area, flattening that out, it's definitely not something we would want to see. Increased disturbance, really the best way to kind of preserve the natural habitat without impacting the wetlands is, truth be told, a smaller scale of development overall. Maybe it stays a little central on the lot, so you don't lose this area to the north. You don't introduce invasives. You don't remove the sensitive beach vegetation that's there. You can improve the wetland setbacks by 10 and 15 feet in places, but it really does mean smaller overall development, potentially a smaller house, a smaller pool. The proposed shed over here meets the 100-foot setback. Maybe it's a smaller pool over here, or in some form or another, and that would fit a little bit better, improving the setback without eking too far into the base of the bluff. That's definitely not something that we'd want to see, where this whole area just is completely denuded and the vegetation removed and improved. It also could, cause concerns with just the natural grade of the land and just being able to construct over there.
Michael, could I ask you, could you clarify for all of us with your cursor the existing line of clearing around the north and the west, especially? The existing line of clearing.
The existing line of clearing, I believe, is this red dashed line.
Because on the aerial, it doesn't look like it goes up that far, but I mean, it doesn't, see that, it looks to me like it's over by the driveway. You see what I mean?
There's a number of olives in this section, and some invasives there. It does look like there was recently planted beach grass over here. So this area would be considered cleared by town code, because invasives can really only move in once the area has been cleared.
Right. So nonetheless, you can see to the west of the house, right where you are. And even go to the left a little more. There's very nice vegetation there, especially when you go south from there. But if you could go back to the survey really quickly, again, I just want to emphasize that again, and if board members look at the plans and the whole scale of the proposed house, and granted it's a large lot, I appreciate that.
If it helps the board members, this is the survey, or not the most recent survey that we got on the 13th of May. But a previous survey geo-referenced over the aerials to give them an idea as to where things are while looking at the aerials.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and you can see, where the proposed pool is planned and where the sheds and the hot tub, that's just all beautiful territory. So I just want to reiterate that, I just think this property, it's a large lot. It deserves, because of the size, it's much larger than the many adjacent lots. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the scenic easement and getting the pool further away. It seems like it's just putting things back in place, and it could have been much more thoughtfully laid out, in my opinion. But I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Chair, I just want to make one more comment then, if I might, and that was that if looking at this drawing we have up now and seeing the access from the driveway, this is a really tough place to do this kind of complete redevelopment. All around it, the vegetation, the topography is such that this is a tough one. Now, can it possibly be done? Anything can be done if people are careful enough. I made note that in the drawings, the building drawings, there were over approximately 115 pilings to go in. So that equipment would come in. There'd have to be a very strict protocol to have that equipment not spinning into areas that we don't want it. I know we put up restrictive fencing. This is a major project. 115 pilings takes some time. You back out. Traditionally, you go to the far end and you back out on that. But if this project were to move forward, I think the construction protocols would have to be extremely strict and rigid, because you can't help but look at this site, walk the site, and think that it's wonderfully revegetated. And the areas that don't seem to show vegetation are still part of a natural dune ecology. And it's extremely impressive when you're there to think that I will say that it's hard to imagine that you can remove that house, put the new one in, and not do considerable kind of collateral damage. So I would have the same concerns you have, that if it could be tightened up in some way, and somehow think about the size of development we're getting on this. But anyway, I'm just echoing your concerns, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Ed. Board members, Terry, Roy, Tim, anyone?
I have a couple of concerns, Mr. Chairman, and primarily one of my concerns is the amount of hardscape here. The proposed lot coverage is a large increase, and it seems to me there's a lot of hardscape here that could be pulled back. Secondly, there's a connection between the main house, a proposed roof connecting the garage, and my question is if there's a reason for that. I'm not sure if that's planned for future expansion or development of the living into the existing garage. I'm not sure about that, but I'm wondering if we should limit that. And then thirdly, I agree with member Johan about the difficulty of the construction. The demolition of the existing swimming pool should not remain open for construction activities after the demolition. I think that construction limiting fence should be tightened up quite a bit there. And it should be outlaid. I think we should spend some time, or there should be a proposed limiting fence on this as well as the construction protocol.
Thank you, Roy. Tim, Terry?
Yeah, well, my overall take is I agree with Michael on the scope of the development, that it's too much in that amount of space, and agree that things can be tightened up. The patio areas, pool moving closer to the house, perhaps, hot tub, maybe a smaller pool. I think it's proposed to be 612 square feet, I think. But overall, it seems like a lot going into that space, aside from all the construction issues that other members have.
Thank you, Terry. Tim or anyone else, any other comments? And we'll give Chris a final comment. Or Chris, you want to go ahead?
I just have one very scientific comment, Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
And that is that it feels like 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound sack.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay, duly noted.
Let me address the potato comment in that the total lot coverage is being decreased, right? From 8,627 square feet to 7,569 square feet. So that's being tightened up from what's existing. And the total lot coverage is only increasing by, it's going from 2,600 feet and change to 3,300. So it's 700 square feet, 760 square feet. So it's, again, there's an improvement. And with respect to the protocol, well, we're very sensitive to that. In fact, the planning consultant has prepared a construction protocol, which is in the submission that you received prior to the hearing.
Okay, on that, you're talking about the one in Katie's document that you said? Yeah. It looked like that could use some spiffing up also on some of that construction protocol.
We can certainly submit a more in-depth construction protocol from the builder.
Okay. Okay, I guess I think that anyone in the public, Michael, from LTV, anyone?
No, there are no callers.
Okay, thank you. Then I'm going to go ahead and close us out here with regard to Peter and Joy Hamburger at 12 Sandpiper Lane in Amagansett, tax map number 300-175-4-6.1. I make a motion to close the public portion of the hearing and leave the written record open until 2 weeks after the time that the transcript of this meeting is posted on the town website.
Second.
Second?
I concur.
Okay, Roy, did Roy chime in?
Yes, I concur.
Yep, okay, thank you all. Thank you, Chris, thank you, Katie, and thank you, Michael, for your work on this. Have a good evening.
Take care.
Take care. Okay, board members, we'll move on now. Okay, we have, under the work session, I think we are all clear there. We can move on now. We have the draft minutes of May 4th and May 11th. I have read both of these. They look just fine to me. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the Zoning Board of Appeals of East Hampton for May 4th and May 11th.
I second.
I concur.
I concur.
And I concur. Thanks, Tim. And thank you, Kyle. Okay, now we'll move on to resolutions. We'll start off here with the first four that are all grouped. As you know, these are the PEM applications for, and I will read these in here. We have, the first is Lloyd. Council, may I just read these in kind of together?
Yeah, they're to clarify on here, I mean, they encompass not only the tax map number there, but if you include the language that's in the determination as far as that it is also the trustee property.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so pardon me, I'm going to go ahead and just open one of those up here. 1 second, please. Let's see. Okay. I have 11. Council, you can let me know if I have this correct. Yeah, I'm going to start with the Lloyd one because that's first listed. Pardon me, the first one here, the applicant here is Douglas Lloyd, care of Great Ecology at 379 West Broadway, 5th floor, New York, New York, 10012. And the lot, this is at 611 Shore Road in Amagansett, tax map number 300-106.
I'm going to stop you, Chair, because Shore Road is incorrect. If you don't mind, if I read the names, the tax map numbers and such in, if that's okay with you.
That's totally fine. That's totally fine.
There was some,
I know there's some,
graphical, so.
Please do, Nancy Lynn, please do.
No problem. For Douglas Lloyd, tax map number 300-106-2-35.3, and the East Hampton trustee owned property on Lazy Point Beach from the northwest property line of 611 Lazy Point Road into Nappig Bay. And then the second one would be Chris Anderson, tax map number 300-106-2-39-2, and the East Hampton trustee owned property on Lazy Point Beach from the northwest property line of 619 Lazy Point Road into Nappig Bay. And the third one is Damon's Marin, tax map number 300-106-2-39.3, and the East Hampton trustee owned property on Lazy Point Beach from the northwest property line of 621 Lazy Point Road into Nappig Bay. And the last one is 623 Shore Road Realty LLC, also known as Richard Principe Jr., tax map number 300-106-2-39.4, and East Hampton trustee owned property on Lazy Point Beach from the northwest property line of 623 Lazy Point Road into Nappig Bay.
Thank you, Council. Thank you for that. So we have the four resolutions here that Council has drafted. Very well, I might
Actually,
add.
you can explain them all, but we will need a vote on each separately.
On each one, okay. So may I just, we all, board members, we all know these very well from the recent hearings and all the literature. And I'll note that today I attended via Zoom. The town board actually discussed this, and they discussed our consideration of these applications here, as well as the trustees' consideration, and as well as the planning department.
They did not discuss these determinations. They're discussing the harvester.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Completely.
Sorry.
I beg you, completely distracted there. Thanks, Nancy Lynn. Okay, I'll move along. Could you pull one of these up, Michael? Or I don't have it on my screen. I apologize. I didn't want to pull it. Oh, counsel, do you have that? You could pull up one.
One of the determinations.
Yeah.
Don't have it.
Okay, well, can I just read these off then? One at a time, counsel?
Just we could do by name. So the determination for Lloyd Douglas.
Yeah.
For the tax map, his property, as well as the trustee property that runs from his property line into Napeague Bay, his property being at 611 Lazy Point Road.
Yep. So can I simply make a motion to approve that?
The determination as written? Yes.
Written? Okay. I'm going to let Nancy Lynn read off the tax maps to make sure we get it right for the record. Board members, if that's okay. So with regard to the Lloyd Douglas, I make a recommendation that we make a motion that we approve that determination as written.
I'll second it.
Concur.
I concur.
Okay, thank you, board members. And Nancy Lynn, would you mind reading off the Chris Anderson, please?
Chris Anderson, which was the tax map 300-106-2-39.2, and the trustee owned property that's from the property line of 619 Lazy Point Road into Napeague Bay.
Thank you. I make a motion that we as well approve that determination as written.
Second.
I concur.
I concur.
I concur.
Okay, thank you. Okay, would you, if you please, Nancy Lynn, with Demolis Marin, please.
Demolis Marin, tax map 300-106-2-39.3, and the trustee owned property from Lazy Point Beach to the property line of, from the northwest property line of 621 Lazy Point Road into Napeague Bay.
Thank you. I make a motion that we approve that determination as written.
I second.
I concur.
I concur.
Terry, you concur too, right?
Yes, I concur.
Good, thank you. Okay, next, Nancy Lynn, please.
And this one is a 623 Shore Road Realty LLC. I have noted it is also known as Richard Principe Jr. because that is the trustee permit is in that name. So I wanted to make sure that they followed along with each other.
Yeah.
That tax map is 300-106-2-39.4. And it also encompasses the trustee-owned property on Lazy Point Beach from the northwest property line of 623 Lazy Point Road into Napeague Bay.
Thank you. I make a motion that we approve that determination as written.
Second.
Okay.
I concur.
Okay, I concur. I mean, I made the motion. Well, so we thank you, board members, and thank you, Nancy Lynn. We will move on next. We have 216 Old Montauk Highway LLC, 216 Old Montauk Highway, Montauk, tax map number 300-87-3-12.4. And I believe board member Johan, this was your application, Ed?
No.
Burgers.
Oh, sorry, Terry, I apologize.
Yeah, well, I think we all remember this one. This is for the pre-existing non-conforming property, the entire property south of the Seahawk line at 216 Old Montauk Highway in Montauk. The application was for a carport, and our discussion, ultimately, this was a unanimous denial on this project. So for this project, 216 Old Montauk Highway LLC, 216 Old Montauk Highway in Montauk, tax map 300-087-03-12.4. I make a motion to approve the determination as written.
I'll second.
I second.
Concur.
And
I'll concur.
okay, and I concur as well. Okay, thank you, Terry. Yeah, I was confused. The next one I believe is Ed's. Next we have Susan A. Overbaugh at 253 Westlake Drive in Montauk, tax map number 300-12-3-24. And Ed, am I correct that this was your application?
It was, Mr. Chair. The board will remember that this was a split decision. It was a 3-2 decision to approve the application. There were active debate and conversation about the merits of that. At that time, the applicant was looking for several variances to allow for a outdoor shower, a deck, a front patio, and a detached shed which sat within jurisdiction close to wetlands. We did approve it with the recommendation that the shed gutters and leaders to a dry well. Under that condition, we agreed to 3-2 vote to approve that. So in the matter of Susan Overbaugh of 253 Westlake Drive, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-012-03-24, I make a motion to accept the resolution as written.
Second.
I concur.
I concur.
And I concur as well. Thank you, Ed. Okay, council, let's see. Do we have anything on your end? I believe we finished our agenda.
That is everything I have on our agenda.
Okay, great. Then I think the vice chair, we need a motion from the vice chair and we'll be all set.
Sure. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close the hearing of the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals for Tuesday, May 18th at 8:31 p.m.
Second.
I concur.
I concur.
And I concur as well. Okay, thank you, Roy. Thank you all board members. Thanks, Michael, Eleni, Kyle, Nancy Lynn, Mike at LTV. Thank you all, and we'll see you next time. Have a good evening, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you and congrats.